Now, on the investigation, the Democratic break-in thing, we're back in the problem area because the FBI is not under control because Gray doesn't exactly know how to control it. And their investigation is now leading into some productive areas because they've been able to trace the money, not through the money itself, but through the bank, sources, the banker. So, and it goes some directions we don't want it to go. Also, there have been some things like an informant came in off the street to the FBI in Miami with a photographer who has a friend who's a photographer who develops films for this guy Parker. And the films had pictures of Democratic National Committee letterhead documents and things. So there's things like that that are filtering in. Mitchell came up with yesterday, and John Dean analyzed very carefully last night and concurs now with Mitchell's recommendation that the only way to solve this, and we're set up beautifully to do it, the only network that paid any attention to last time was NBC, who did a massive story on the Cuban. But the way to handle this now is for us to have Walters call Pat Gray and just say, stay the hell out of this. This is there's business here we don't want you going any further on. That's not an unusual development. And that would take care of Pat Gray. He doesn't want to. Pat does want to. He doesn't know how to, and he doesn't have any basis for doing it. Given this, he will then have the basis. He'll call Mark Felt in, and the two of them. And Mark Felt wants to cooperate because he's ambitious. They'll call them in and say, we've gotten a signal across the river to put the hold on this, and that'll fit rather well because the FBI agents who are working the case at this point feel that's what it is. Is a CIA, but they're tracing the money to them. Well, they've traced to a name, but they haven't got to the guy yet. Somebody here, Kent Dahlberg. And Kent Dahlberg said he gave $25,000 in Minnesota, and the check went directly in to this guy Parker. Maybe he's he did. I mean, it isn't from the committee though. It isn't from Stan. Yeah. It's directly traceable, and there's some more through some Texas people that went to the Mexican bank, which they can also trace through the Mexican bank. They'll get their names today. And, well, I mean, there's no way that, I'm just thinking, if they don't cooperate, what do they say? That they were approached by the Cubans, and that's what Dahlberg has to say, and the Texans too, if they will, but then we're relying on more and more people all the time. It's the problem. And they'll stop if we take this other step, and they seem to feel the thing to do is to get them to stop. Right, fine. They say the only way to do that is a White House instruction, and that it's got to be to Helms and what's his name? Walters. And the proposal would be that Irwin and I call in. All right, fine, and say, how do you call them in? I mean, well, we protected Helms on one hell of a lot of things. That's what everything starts. This is Hunt. That'll uncover a lot of legal net scandals. A lot of things, and then we just feel that this would be very detrimental to have this thing going further. This involves even Cubans and Hunt and a lot of hanky-panky that we have nothing to do with ourselves. What the hell did Mitchell know about this thing then? I think so. I don't think he knew the details, but I think he did know how it was going to be handled with Dahlberg and Texas and so forth. Well, who was the asshole that did it? Is it Liddy? Is that the fellow? He must be a little nuts. Yeah. I mean, he just isn't well screwed on, is he? That problem. No, he was under pressure apparently to get more information, and as he got more pressure, he pushed the people harder to move harder on pressure from Mitchell, apparently. Oh, Mitchell is that point that you made. I was concerned about ITP or something. Those stuff, yeah. All right, fine. I understand that all we won't second guess Mitchell and the rest. Thank God it was close. The FBI interviewed Colson yesterday. They determined that would be a good thing to do. To have him take it. interrogation, which he did. And that, the FBI guys working the case had concluded that there were one or two possibilities. One, that this was a White House. They don't think there's anything about the election committee. They think it was either a White House operation that had some obscure reasons for it, non-political, or was the Cubans and the CIA. And after their interrogation of Haldeman yesterday, they concluded it was not White House, so they're now convinced it's a CIA thing. So the CIA turnoff would.
Well, I must work on analysis. I can't say that close.
They don't want you to.
You call me. Good deal. Let's play it tough. That's the way they play it. That's the way we're going to play it.
Okay.
Yeah, when I saw that news summary, I questioned there was a bunch of crap, but I thought that, well, it's good to have them off in this wild hair thing, because when they start bugging us, which they have, our little boys will not know how to handle it. I hope they will. Never know. It's get covered. Good.
Mitchell says, oh yes. Anything we can hit on it anytime we get the chance. If we've got a reason for doing it, do it.
When you get in, it's people say, look, the problem is that this will hold the whole Bay of Pigs thing, and the president just feels that, without going into the details, don't lie to them, that he can't say that there's no involvement, but you can say that this is sort of a comedy of errors, it's bizarre hell without getting into it. The president's going to believe that it's going to open the whole Bay of Pigs thing up again. And because these people are playing for keeps, and that they should call the FBI and say, push the country, don't go any further into this case, period. Okay.
We think sometimes when things happen that don't go the right way, we think that when you don't pass the bar exam the first time, I happened to, but I was just lucky. I mean, my writing was so poor, the bar examiner said, we just got to let the guy through. We think that when someone dear to us dies, we think that when we lose an election, we think that when we suffer a defeat, that all is ended. We think, as T.R. said, that the light had left his life forever. Not true. It's only a beginning, always. The young must know it. The old must know it. It must always sustain us, because the greatness comes not when things go always good for you, but the greatness comes, and you're really tested, when you take some knocks, some disappointments, when sadness comes. Because only if you've been in the deepest valley can you ever know how magnificent it is to be on the highest mountain. And so I say to you on this occasion, we leave proud of the people who have stood by us and worked for us and served this country. We want you to be proud of what you've done. We want you to continue to serve in government if that is your wish.